Hey, how you doing? Scotty from Scott's Bass Lessons again. If you haven't been to scottsbasslessons.com yet, make sure you do so straight after this lesson, because there is over 40 hours, if not 50 hours right now, or over 50 hours of free bass lessons just like this. And there's play-along tracks, there's workbooks you can download, the full shebang. So go along to the site and check it out straight after this lesson. It's scottsbasslessons.com. So in this lesson, I want to talk about articulation. I hear a lot of beginner to intermediate players struggling with, how to bring their bass lines alive. And the first time I came across this phenomenon was I was listening to, it was actually a drummer playing, and he was playing a real simple beat. It was just like a dum, a k, dum, a k, a dum, a k. And I heard him play it, and I just thought, I've heard a ton of drummers play that beat before. Why does he sound absolutely amazing playing it? And then as he played more, I'd heard the licks he was playing before, but it just sounded so much more mature, there was just so much feeling about it. And there was three things giving him that sound. One was his time feel. Two, it was his articulation. And three, it was his dynamics. So time feel, articulation, and dynamics. And that's what gave him this amazing feel. Now in this lesson, I'm going to be talking about articulation and dynamics. Time feel is something I've done lessons on, but I'm going to be doing some lessons in the future about it. And I thought it really deserves its own lessons, really. So in this lesson, we're going to be talking about articulation and time feel. Now, articulation and time feel can bring your bass lines, they can move them to the next level. They can bring your bass lines alive. For instance, if I was to demonstrate a bass line with no articulation at all, no dynamics, it'd sound really flat. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to talk about how to get articulations and dynamics into your playing, okay? And how to bring your bass lines alive. So let's think about a groove. I should always do this before I start the lesson. So let's do something about that speed. Let's do something in C minor. Okay, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4. This is just no articulation or dynamics. You can hear everything's quite monotonal. Now obviously you need to be able to play it like this, really nice and clean, before you start adding in your articulations and your dynamics. But what I'm doing here is I'm just giving you a demonstration of, the two polar opposites. So that was no articulation, no dynamics. Now I can take that same bass line, 2, 3, 4, that same bass line. And add in some articulation and dynamics, and it sounds something like this. 2, 3. I'm making it sound like I'm giving it that new sort of like that new feel, because I'm presenting the notes in a different way. I'm not just playing them all long. Some notes are short, some notes are long. So long, long, and then I've got two short ones there. Oh, actually I'm playing these short as well. And then two long. And it gives it a completely different feel. So you should always be thinking about your note length. Are you holding it on for the full note, or are you going to cut it down and leave a little bit of daylight between the notes. Boo, boo, ba, ba. There's a little bit of daylight between each of those notes, and that gives it a completely different feel. So let me just show you the riff to start with, bit by bit, so you understand it harmonically, and then we'll talk a bit more about these articulations and dynamics, okay? So the riff is just over C minor, and it's C, minor third, fifth, flat 7, and then 9. So C, E flat, G, B flat, D, and then back to that G there, D to G, 9th to the 5th. That's the first bit of the riff, and then the second bit is just the same, but you end on that D, that 9. So it's just C minor 9 arpeggio, really. So what I'm doing with these articulations, I'm thinking, should I be sliding into the notes? Sliding into a load of them. Slide, 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 okay. Should I be cutting them short or long? Should it be, so let me do a mix of the both. Long, short, 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 okay. Long, short, 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 long, long, short, 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 long. You know, mix it up like that. You can hammer on. So instead of sliding into the notes like I'm doing there, and slides is a big part of it as well, actually. Instead of sliding into the notes, you could hammer on. These, and it's not really like a traditional, it's more of a, and that's where I'm just hitting one note and then hammering on with my other fingers, and make sure that it's your fingers. It's not just, you're not playing it with your index and then hammering on with your little finger. It's all the fingers come down. That riff is, without the articulation there would be. But with the hammer-ons, with the long and short notes, you can get this. Yeah, it really adds a completely different level to your bass playing. So we've looked at the long and the short notes, we've looked at the slides, we've looked at the hammer-ons. But then there's the dynamics as well. And just if I take that, that riff again, I can, you know, I'm trying to see waves of dynamics. I'm not thinking ba 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 da ba 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 ba. I'm thinking ba boo boo do ba dee boo 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 ba. I'm almost sort of like low to high. It's hard. It's sort of like conceptual, but I'm sure you know what I mean. Try and think in waves. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So these notes are quite loud and pronounced, where these are kind of like, they're a little bit hidden. just sort of like make a decision whether the note should be punchy or should be held back. It's these kind of, and don't get me wrong, I'm not thinking about this all the time when I'm playing. It's something you will have to do to start with, like when you're driving, okay? You need to think about it when you start, right? Otherwise you'll be driving into walls. But after a while, you forget about it. It just becomes instinctual. This is exactly the same. It's something about you have to start thinking about, and then it will become completely instinctual. So look for notes you can slide into, notes you can hammer on, leaving certain notes longer, certain notes shorter. Where do you want to be punchy in the bass line? Where do you want to hold back to give the bass lines those waves? And this is why guys like, a great example of this is Chicken Grease by D'Angelo. Pino Palladino plays that line, I think, on there. And it's a simple enough line, but the way he articulates that bass line, the way he places the notes and presents the notes is second to none. And it's that really, it really makes, it puts you into the bass line. It's not just, I could play a bass line and you can play a bass line. They'll sound completely different. And it's because you're in the bass. These are my little things that I use in my bass lines. This is what you need to be working on, and it adds character into your bass lines. And that's why I listen to those Chicken Grease by D'Angelo, that Pino Palladino bass line, and it just blows me away the way it's presented. And the more you get into this, the more you'll notice it in other people's bass lines as well. It's not just the pitches, not the pitches, the pitches. It's not just the pitches. It's the articulation and dynamics of the bass line that really make a difference as well. And lastly, there's those, I forgot actually, I get a ton of emails about them. There's those, I add a lot of those in as well. You could do it in that bass line. All it is I hold the fret and then go back and forth. So you have to have a certain looseness about your hand to do that. And I can remember, I got the idea from listening to guys like Stevie Wonder with his, when he was playing synth bass, he had some like crazy runs and he had a pitch bend wheel, and it's sort of like, you hear them. And those guys, them synth guys, can do that, when they're playing. And that's where I got the idea from. But I had seen a few of the bass players doing it before. And, you can use stuff like that as well to spice up your bass lines. So, pick a bass line of your choice, whatever it is, and try and play it with no dynamics to start with, and then try and have a real awareness of what dynamics you are adding in. Experiment with slides, hammer-ons, pull-offs even, we'll talk about that in another video, and dynamics and the little trill stings and stuff like that. Really try and bring your bass lines to life using those and put some of your character in the bass line. Hopefully you've enjoyed this lesson. If you have, make sure you click like below. I will love you forever. And other than that, take it easy. Go over to scottsbasslessons.com and sign up to be a subscriber. See you later, and I'll catch you in the shed.